touch this. Are we good? Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for Second Chances, Creative Caregiving Through the Arts While Living with Dementia. We are grateful to all of you for making time and space to be here with us today. My name is Stacy Brennan, and I serve as Curator of Education at Lehigh University Art Galleries. We are a free public museum located here on Lehigh's campus and down the hall. Our museum holds over 20,000 works of art from across time periods and cultures, and we offer a wide variety of free exhibitions, programs, and learning opportunities for all ages and abilities throughout the year. We hope today's event inspires you to stay connected with us and to help spread the word about our free community offerings. We are honored to host this meaningful program, which explores the power of the arts to support individuals living with dementia and their care partners. Through research, real-world examples, and hands-on engagement, we'll learn how creative expression can uplift, connect, and heal. This event is made possible through the generous support of the Fleming Foundation with additional funding from an Administration for Community Living grant. Before we begin, a quick note about logistics. This morning's presentation is being recorded and will be shared out after the event. There's a copy of the slide presentation which we will also send, and there's a QR code in the back here if you'd like to scan it to view the presentation on your own device. We would like to thank Becky Tallarico and LaDonna Schrumpf from WordStream Captioning for providing live captioning for the event today, and to our friends at Zollner Arts Center for hosting us in this space. The restrooms are located just outside to the right of this room, if you go out to the right. And after this morning's presentation, we'll have time for audience questions, followed by a lunch reception in the lobby. We'll then transition to a hands-on creative workshop at 1 p.m. in the LUAG main galleries down the hall. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's presenters. I will start with our featured speaker, Susan Shifrin, founder and director of ARTZ Philadelphia. Susan is an art historian, curator, educator, and passionate advocate for arts accessibility. She holds a PhD from Bryn Mawr College and has served in museums large and small along the East Coast. She was inspired to found ARTZ Philadelphia after witnessing the profound impact of arts engagement on people living with dementia during her time at the Berman Museum of Art. Her work exemplifies the transformative power of the arts to connect us at our core. I have had the privilege with working with Susan earlier in my career at Mainline Arts Center. At that time, my grandfather, who had been diagnosed with dementia, was living in a care facility located directly behind the Arts Center. Susan and I led art-based conversations that brought residents, including my grandfather, joy, connection, and creative expression. Those experiences remain some of the most powerful and personal reminders of why this work matters. I'm also thrilled to introduce another longtime colleague and friend, Hildy Tao, who's currently in the galleries offering respite care. Hildy is an accomplished artist and educator who currently serves as a curator of education at Woodmere Art Museum, now known as Woodmere. She has developed a wide range of programs that use both art appreciation and art making as tools for cross-disciplinary learning. For over a decade, she has partnered with ARTZ Philadelphia to create welcoming and enriching experiences for people living with dementia and their care partners. Hildy brings warmth, depth, and a lifelong dedication to inclusive arts education. This event would not be possible without the incredible team at Lehigh, including my colleague, Elise Schaefer, our coordinator of visitor experience and accessibility. Elise leads our Access Cultural Initiative, which provides professional development for educators and caregivers to foster equity and inclusion in the arts for individuals with disabilities. Please stay tuned for events and community discussions that are coming up. Finally, I want to acknowledge our valued program partners at the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, especially Erica Butts, Dementia Outreach Coordinator, and Victoria Sire, Director of Community Hubs. Their leadership has been instrumental in connecting our community to vital dementia support and care resources. I'll now turn it over to Erica, who will share a few words before introducing our featured presenter, Susan Shifrin. But first, a few words about Erica. Erica serves as Dementia Outreach Coordinator at United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, where she has spent the last 3 years leading efforts to support individuals and families affected by dementia. In her role, she manages a major grant from the Fleming Foundation, which funds free dementia education, caregiver support programs, and vital community resources for both family and professional caregivers. Erica is a licensed social worker with a master's degree in social work, bringing both clinical insight and deep compassion to her work. She is passionate about building community awareness, reducing stigma, and improving quality of life for those impacted by dementia. Thank you again to all of you for being here today. We look forward to continued conversations, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. So I'll turn it over to Erica.
Good morning. I'm just going to make this quick so we can get on to the exciting part. As Stacy mentioned, my name is Erica, and I am the Dementia Outreach Coordinator at United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, and I project manage a grant from the Fleming Foundation, which has allowed us to offer free programming and resources to the community. Some of our programs include the Savvy Caregiver program, Project Lifesaver expansion, which if you haven't heard of Project Lifesaver, see me after this, it's a really cool program. Community education, social, emotional, and mental health supports for caregivers, as well as connecting with our hospital networks to ensure training and advocacy efforts. So it is now my honor to introduce you all to Susan Shifrin.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, so the first question of the day is, can you actually see me? If you can't, it'll just be a mystery where the sound is coming from, right? Can you all hear me? Yes. All right, good. So I want to thank, first of all, longtime colleague and friend, Stacy Brennan, for inviting me here today. I want to thank the, I always get the order wrong, United Way of Greater Lehigh Valley for being part of this labor of love. And I want to thank, above all of you for being here today. So I'm going to spend the next while talking a little bit about second chances. What do I mean by second chances for a person living with dementia, for a care partner? And why would you, as care partners, seek out such a thing? Can engaging with the person you love through the arts secure that second chance for both of you? And I want to be clear that this talk is as much for professional care providers, companions, aides, as it is for those of us who are family care partners. So what's this about second chances? These are some of the questions I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to share with you some research that undergirds what I and my colleagues at ARTZ Philadelphia do. I'm going to share the words and experiences of our community members and share with you also some audio and video so that you can get a strong sense of what this might look like. You'll hear me use words like joy, well-being, dignity. Those are not necessarily words you would associate with a diagnosis of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. But they are the core words that we use at ARTZ Philadelphia, and they are the mandates that drive everything we do. So, this is the slightly sobering part, and many of you are living this, so it won't be a surprise to you. 83% of the help provided to older adults in the US comes from so-called informal care partners, which is to say unpaid care partners, family members, friends. Almost 50% of all care partners who do this work do so for someone living with dementia-related conditions. Compared with family care partners of people without dementia, twice as many care partners of those with dementia indicate substantial emotional, financial, and physical difficulties. Care partners of people with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias provide care for a longer duration than care partners of people with other types of conditions. I will share with you, my mother lived with dementia for almost 20 years. 57% of family care partners of people living with dementia provide care for 4 years or more. More than 63% of care partners in this situation expect that they will keep having these responsibilities for the next 5 years, compared with just under 50% of care partners for people living with other conditions. Critically, the demands of caregiving can limit care partners' ability to care for themselves. Family care partners for people with dementia-related conditions are at greater risk for anxiety, depression, poorer quality of life, and chronic illness than the care partners who attend to people with other conditions. There are parallel challenges for direct care providers. So, certified nursing assistants, aides of various kinds. For those living in residential care, these are the front lines of care. Despite their essential roles, their median annual earnings were only $25,000 in 2022. And that means that more than a third were obliged to take on extra jobs and to be on public assistance as they met these incredibly demanding, emotionally demanding, physically demanding workloads. The median annual turnover for nursing assistants in nursing homes was nearly 100% in the late 20-teens, and nearly 80% in 2024. This is from a study about disenfranchised grief in formal caregivers. Formal caregivers of people with dementia may experience ambiguous loss due to the psychological loss of care recipients before their physical death, and they may also experience disenfranchised grief when other people fail to acknowledge their losses. And now we flip to the challenges for people living with dementia. We at ARTZ Philadelphia build our programs based on extensive research relating to dignity preservation, quality of life enhancement, joy. So, in a 2016 study, the author wrote, "The diagnosis of dementia becomes the master status of the person, not being seen as a person or only being seen as a member of a group, for instance, as a member of a patient group, may be experienced as violation of a person's dignity." Another study, also from 2016, says the way in which individuals with dementia are treated by others has a significant impact on their experience of the illness, and the views of and treatment by others can perhaps be seen as the primary cause of the loss of self and self-esteem. So, on this apparent collision course where care partners are hurting and people with dementia are trying to live meaningful lives, how do we get to a point where self-care for care partners and appropriate, dignifying care for people with dementia come together. More research. So there has been actually quite a lot of research about the impact of arts-based experiences on people with dementia and on care partners. There's an English psychologist, Paul Kamek, who has done study after study after study in museum galleries, in art-making settings. And in 2013, the study that he did of a program, an art-based program taking place in museum galleries, found the following. We were able to substantiate that people with dementia were able to demonstrate new learning within a gallery setting. People with dementia were often surprised that learning about art and making it was enjoyable and worthwhile. Variations in memory functioning during and after the gallery sessions were another area identified as adding to the quality of life of these folks. For people with dementia, memory enhancement often came as a welcome surprise, and of course, likewise for the care partners. From the people living with dementia in this study, I didn't realize I could still learn new things. I enjoyed learning with others and finding that I knew more than I thought I did. The gallery was a nice, quiet place for your brain to work. And I was treated so well, it made me feel I wasn't a drain. So when we talk about art-based programming, that runs the gamut, from visual art to poetry to theater to music to dance to horticulture, and recent randomized controlled studies. So studies done in such a way that the medical profession accepts them as legitimate, have shown the efficacy of music intervention in improving the well-being of people living with dementia and their care partners. The arts have been shown to be effective for supporting the health, well-being, and cognition of people living with a dementia, for aiding communication, for stimulating the residual creativity of those with a dementia, and I would add to that, stimulating newfound creativity that may not have come out prior to the diagnosis. These programs also have been responsible for challenging public perceptions. He's no longer there. When you see art made by somebody who is no longer there, you kind of have to face that they're there. And just, on and on, there has been international research again and again that has emphasized and re-emphasized the role that arts-based programming, arts-based experiences can play in enhancing quality of life. So, lots of research, lots of sobering statistics. Let's get a little cheerier here. What does connecting through the arts look like? My organization, ARTZ Philadelphia, has a simple mission. It is to harness the power of interactions around arts and culture of people living with dementia and their care partners as a way of enhancing their daily quality of life. This is not a cure, but this is a way that people rediscover themselves. So I'm just showing you some examples of the connections and interactions that take place in this case, our music programs, some of which were held online during COVID, some of which are held in the neighborhoods of North Philadelphia, some of which are held in other cultural centers. I'm showing you here a weaving project a program at the Barnes Foundation, a printmaking program at Woodmere, whose curator of education some of you will meet this afternoon. And I can think of no better photograph to show joy and connection than this high five being offered by one of our interns to one of our longtime program participants. He didn't speak a lot, but he sure connected. So what do our care partners say their second chance has felt like? This is, I'm going to play a little clip from a video. Hannah is at age 24, a medical student and the primary care partner for her mom, who is living with Lewy body dementia. Her mom, before she became ill, was a geriatrician and treated people with dementia. So here's what Hannah says.
I started attending some of the virtual sessions with my mom, and I loved it, so we just kind of kept going. Something that I tell everyone that I'm talking to about Arts Notes is that I really like that it's a judgment-free space, you know. My mom has a very unique diagnosis, and sometimes it can be difficult to find spaces where I don't have to like keep explaining like, oh, you know, she has dementia and stuff like that. And so when I'm in the music sessions with Arts Notes, I know that I don't have to explain anything. Everybody there is kind of in the same boat more or less, and so it can just be a space where like I can just be even if my mom is dancing around. The Arts Note sessions have kind of become like our thing, you know. I always look forward to them every month. I have them in my calendar like the moment we get the email. And I feel like it's like a fun bonding opportunity and just a place again for her to just be so free to like dance and to sing, which again it's not super easy to find spaces like that. I feel like it's a lot easier for people with children maybe to find, but it's a little bit more difficult when it's like an adult with special needs or a cognitive disability like dementia, to find a space where they can really just be whoever they have become and whoever they are.
Susan, a longtime care partner, a longtime member of our community, talks about her and her beloved husband Carl's first session with arts, which they came to with utter trepidation, feeling like, what do we get ourselves into? I'm not sure I want to be here. Carl's ready to go out to the car. They came into the gallery, sat down, and as Susan recalls, it seemed almost immediately like we had found a whole other world, a world in which we could exist together. Sarah, who came to arts with her father. My father and I were not close at all before his dementia, but it was really the arts programs that allowed us to do something together and start a relationship that has me feeling more connected to him than ever. And for the first time in my life, I love the time we spend together. Talk about second chances. This wonderful picture of Sarah and her dad. I feel like this whole experience has really been my father taking care of me, because it has connected me to so many wonderful people and taught me more than I ever could have imagined. My father may not have the same memory he used to, but he certainly is still filled with wisdom. I think he's been more of a father to me this past year than in the other 33 years of my life. So I think we both get caregiver designations in our situation. So, question, do you need to be in a museum setting or at a live performance of music to benefit from that second chance? And while I obviously believe in the small group programs we do at ARTZ. The answer to that is absolutely not. You do not need to be in a formal program. Where do you start? This seems like a fairly straightforward question. If you want to know what somebody enjoys doing, maybe ask them. But we don't. We don't ask people with dementia, routinely anyway, what brings you joy? We have to work around all sorts of challenges. And so we do our best to surmise what might work. In our experience, it really is as straightforward as starting with the question, what makes you smile, or what brings you joy? And then there could be a bunch of answers, different answers, and some of these could be nonverbal answers. It depends on where in the illness somebody is. But we can talk about the ways to get at these answers nonverbally. However, if someone says, I love listening to music, there are a wide variety of recordings, both video and audio, available online, many of them free of charge. So care partner and person with dementia can listen together, tap your feet, dance, move your upper body. If the answer is, I really want to be outside, well, a short walk. The sunlight itself can boost hormones and vitamins, and also just feeling a breeze, listening to birds, hearing the rustling of leaves can have a tremendous impact on both the care partner and the person with dementia. If somebody wants to go to museums or wants to look at art, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to offer a somewhat self-serving suggestion. So during COVID, ARTZ Philadelphia teamed up with Dementia Society of America to create an online program called Artful Insights. This was a live Zoom, live streamed program in which we discussed, each month we would discuss 2 or 3 works of art from a different museum in a different state. So by the time we got to the end of the series, we had been, I think, to 30 different states virtually. There is an evergreen version of these videos. So for people who couldn't come to the live stream session and it's 3 in the morning and they want to look at art, we have a large series of videos where we are, in a sense, opening up a conversation about the same works we looked at with participants in the live programs. This is nothing that I have invented. These are tried and true guidelines for engagement. It's all about stepping into the world, whatever that world is at that moment, of the person with dementia. It's meeting a statement with yes, and as opposed to no, that's not true, or but you don't have a sister. It's about really listening. I know a lot of us struggle sometimes to understand when somebody's language is not what we expect it to be. And it sounds like, what do we call it? We call it word salad. My brother was known to call my mom's patterns gobbledygook. He didn't mean it in a mean way. It's just how he felt. But if you really listen, really look someone in the eye, really look at their facial expressions, listen to their tone, that provides a kind of context. And then you can follow where they lead. So, another video, this one is a clip from one of the programs we did a number of years ago at Woodmere, and Hildy's in this. But this gives you a sense of the rules of engagement in action. That's Hildy lurking in the background. Jack just said somebody's trying to keep that alive.
The top part is still smooth, colorful in its own way, but the legs are not holding it up in the past, but it's still here. Somebody supported it.
Somebody supported it. Beautiful. What else?
I was just looking at the difference between the legs are different, and that's about as far as I've gotten. I mean, I did see that it had been patched and things like that, and maybe somebody trying to keep it going, you know. It was looking more at the balance, and again, trying to figure out maybe why the artist wants us to look at this.
Eve, when you look at this, what do you see? Right here, what do you see?
I see a surface,
Mm-hmm.
a very electric kind of surface.
Interesting.
I'm not quite sure how I would do it.
Yeah, yeah. So Eve said she sees a surface, a kind of electric surface. She's not sure how she would do it. In a way, Jack spoke about the piece as a whole. Peggy spoke especially about the legs and what she had noticed about the legs. And Eve spoke about the surface. Sarah, what do you see in this piece?
Termite infested.
Sarah's wondering, she said she sees a little bit of a scraggly piece of wood, and she's wondering if there might have been termites at some point who chewed on the wood. What would it say to you if there had been termites?
Well,
impressed that it survived despite the challenge.
Yeah, it's just, if you put it into a personal type of thing, it's just like, so long for a while until we meet again. Going, gone. But in the memory, it's the smoothness that keeps somebody alive. You're looking at the loss, but you're pulling in what was good, what was best, what was whole.
I found this table on the street, and I needed a table to work myself, but I didn't have many materials. I didn't know how to use the tools, and I didn't have the language either. But just working on it, because it was in a really bad shape, and I was trying to work on it, I started finding myself more in this kind of shape, and trying to balance it, I discovered that the table was more, like it was meant to be like this.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys said beautiful things.
Thank you. So, I want to close with one of the most powerful stories we have at ARTZ about second chances. So, we work at ARTZ with people from pre-diagnosis all the way through hospice. That's our commitment. And at one point, we were asked to start a program, asked by a residential care community to start a program for people living with advanced dementia, people who were beyond reach. And to credit the staff, they also said beyond reach in quotes, because they knew that they could be reached, they just didn't know how. So our lead program facilitator went to the community, came into the room. There were about 8 people seated around a table. They were looking down. They had clenched hands, as happens when the neurological progress of the illness is quite far along. Sue had brought some swatches, really soft knitted swatches, and she went around the table and stroked people's cheeks just to see what would happen. Nothing happened. Sue came back to me that day and said, I think we're way in over our heads. I'm not sure that I am actually going to be able to do this. And then we sat and talked about something we had been taught by, remember Susan and her husband Carl from earlier? So Carl had been a physics teacher. He built things, constructed things, made things all his life. With dementia, as it advanced, he started taking things apart. So Sue came one day, did a program of weaving. Everything that was woven, Carl unwove. And another facilitator, another program would have said, no, Carl, we're actually putting it together. So you need to stop. Well, Sue didn't do that. Instead, Sue and I looked at Carl, and his face was so intent and purposeful, like this was now his mission, to take things apart. So Sue and I were sitting here thinking, can we do this program? And then we remembered Carl. So Sue went back with the same knitted swatches, but she asked some of the folks at the table to unravel the swatches. It turned out there were some knitters at the table. Their first question was, what's wrong with them? Because they didn't, as knitters, they didn't want to take something apart that was perfectly good. And Sue said, well, there are some problems and we want to use them again. So you're really helping us by taking them apart. Now they're taking them apart. And there are volunteers seated at the table winding the yarn as everything is unraveled. And there's this big ball of yarn in front of a volunteer, and seated next to her is the person that Sue had identified to me as the farthest away in his mind. He had not spoken, he had not moved. Suddenly, his hand shot out, and he grabbed the ball of yarn, and he pulled it to him. And all of the staff in the room gasped, because he had not initiated anything in months. We can only speculate that maybe his mom was a knitter and he helped wind the ball, or his sister, or his wife, or he was a knitter, or his partner was a knitter, and something clicked for him. Four weeks later, he was painting. 2 weeks after that, he said out loud the words, "I want yellow paint." So, no matter how far gone someone is, and no matter how frustrated and demoralized we are, if we're open to them, there can be second chances. Thank you. Any questions or any comments about what I've shared with you? Yes, please.
Going back to Carl versus the asking people what brings you joy, what makes you smile, what is your, I'm here because of family members.
Yep.
And two of my 5 family members with dementia are at sort of a phase that they're angry at the world.
Yep.
So, I get a mic. Oh. And so if you ask someone what makes you smile, what brings you joy, and they say nothing. Mm-hmm. I know you said you don't want to go against what they said. Mm-hmm. So what do you recommend as, like, do you bring like one idea for them? Do you offer, like you do with younger people, do you like this or this better? What is the best response to nothing, if that comes up?
Yeah, so I will never claim to have the best response, but a response is, yeah. So my first response would be, nothing makes you smile. I'm really sorry to hear that. What do you miss? Did something used to make you smile and it doesn't make you smile anymore? So, I mean, again, if they're really angry, and my mother was very angry a lot of the time, that may not work either, but at the very least, you're telling them, I heard what you said. And I'm not telling you snap out of it. And I'm not telling you why. Why would you be unhappy? I'm saying, I am really sorry that you're feeling this way, and can we find something that might have, before this, made you happy? In answer to your question about choices, because these are family members, you probably, I mean, unless they're distant family members whom you really didn't know, you may already have a sense of some of their history. You may have a sense of this person was a fabulous dancer. So then the question is, what kind of music did they dance to? Could you get a playlist together? It could be somebody who played music and can no longer, but can beat a rhythm. So the key is, for all sorts of reasons, people may not be able to do what they used to do. In fact, most of us can't do what we used to do. But there may be versions of what they used to do that used to make them happy that are still possible. And it's looking for those versions and, knowing that this is who this person is right now. It's painful for me because I knew them before, but let's just be in the here and now. Does that help? Okay. Yes. You're going to need a mic.
I have a somewhat related question. For people that can no longer hear, like I'm thinking about the music aspect, okay? So it's difficult, or even to watch a program together, something like that, when they can't hear that well. So what kind of suggestions or thoughts do you have on that?
That is a great question. And for all of us, there's more and more research that says conclusively that there is a direct correlation between loss of hearing, isolation, development of dementia. Not that loss of hearing causes dementia, but it can precipitate the onset. Are hearing aids an option, or are they always left out, or are they not there at all?
Well, I could just say in my case, they're being used.
Okay, all right. So, this involves a lot of legwork, but there are organizations, and Stacy and Elise may be able to help with that provide assistive listening devices for someone for whom hearing aids are still not working, or because turning the volume up is not necessarily going to help matters. The other thing that I would say is, if this is somebody who has enjoyed music in the past, might the rhythm part of the music be something that engages them? Because the rhythm, I mean, even if you are fully deaf, you can feel beats, and you can tap out beats. But that is a tough one. And, that's why we all have to deal with hearing issues as soon as we can. I don't know how much help that was, but
Oh, thank you.
yes.
There was a program we used at a community that I served at. It was called Music and Memories.
Yes, yes.
And what I thought was absolutely beautiful when we had someone move in is we asked their family the music that they enjoyed. And it could be everything from, we had somebody who was Greek and they enjoyed all Greek music. We had a lady who was Catholic. And even when she was passing, it was such a beautiful experience because we had the opportunity to put, she had her own personal headphones, you know, our families had invested in that. And she got to listen to the music that she enjoyed in the hymns when she was passing on. So that's always left a big part. And I just want to just give a huge shout out. Our community, we have the pleasure of a local program called Art Can through the Allentown Art Museum. And every single month, whether we go there or they come to us, it is such a beautiful experience for our residents. I can't say enough. I unfortunately don't get to go every single time, but I get to see the pictures.
Yeah.
And when you really zoom in on them, you can see how focused.
Absolutely.
And families have commented to us, just they notice a difference with the residents and their loved one when they get to experience that. So it is a
Absolutely.
great program here in the Valley.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just for those of you who may not be familiar with Music and Memory, it is a program developed by a social worker who felt that if you provide every person with dementia with their own playlist of music they have loved throughout their lifespan, as much as you can, that this will help to assuage agitation. It will help center them. They can enter into a musical reverie. You will find, and this is true of music in general, that people who can no longer verbalize, let alone speak in sentences, can remember all of the lyrics to songs, all of the words in hymns. Our own way of doing things is not to sort of have people individually listen, but to have people in a group listening. But this program has been pretty revolutionary. And it's something you can emulate. I mean, in fact, I should have included that. I should have included that in the music section. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Juan Davila. So my grandmother is deaf. She was born deaf, and we always, she never used any hearing aids or any assistance in hearing because she was just an old school deaf. She either read lips. She didn't even do sign language, American Sign Language. She was Puerto Rico, born and raised in Puerto Rico. There was no ASL. There was just basically, she either read lips. And one of the joys that she had was music. And when I was younger, I always wondered, like, how did she listen to music? And the key was the vibrations.
Yeah.
So whenever we had a family function, for her to participate, we would either stomp our feet to the beats of the music, and then she would dance, and everybody would marvel because they would say, like, how can she hear? And I didn't know that it was because the vibrations of our feet, and she could dance like anybody else. So the vibration is the key when it comes to music and anybody that's hearing impaired. But I also wanted to say, too, that as we talk about this population, it's important to give a little focus to the caregivers. I think because we wear caregiving as a badge of honor, and it doesn't have to be this hard. There are a lot of supportive services, so for us to pour into someone else, we have to make sure that we're being poured into. So I would definitely encourage, the caregivers to seek support.
Absolutely.
And seek create that community for both. So
100%. That
you.
is pearls of wisdom. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing you shared about your grandmother. There is a world-renowned percussionist who is deaf, has always been deaf. And Evelyn Glennie is her name. And in recent years, she has started working with people with dementia, using her amazing skills of not only being a world-class drummer, but her skills of connecting. But yes, thank you. I think we always have to go back to exactly what you said. You cannot be there for someone if you are not there for yourself. You just can't. Yes.
Speaking about feeling music, even if you have like hearing impairment, I kind of had like previous experiment before was people who have like a hearing impairment, like we used to have a group and they used to like hold a balloon and then we used to play music in the room a little bit loud.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to feel the music through the balloon. So this is like another way to be able to enjoy music, even like if there's hearing difficulties.
Absolutely. Yeah, these are all really wonderful confirmations that as troublesome as hearing loss is, there's always a way. Any other questions? Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Susan. I wanted to mention, it becomes even more personal for me, but Susan, or Sue that Susan mentioned, and Carl. Susan was my high school art teacher, and Carl was also a teacher at the school that I grew up in. And they would attend the programs at Mainline Art Center where I used to work. So I got to see the impact of that program firsthand on their relationship, on both of them. So this stuff is really powerful. There's a beautiful documentary that was made about them. It's called Moment to Moment. And you can view it on artandhealing.org. And so it's really wonderful to see the impact of that arts can have. And in Susan's programs, you often include both, all kinds of forms of art, right, in one program. So it shows you how adaptations and offering various opportunities for engagement really make an impact. We would like to do the raffle now so we can celebrate together with our winner. So I'm going to bring Erica up here.
Perfect. So we are going to be raffling off 2 caregiver self-care packages and an ARTZ Philly art making kit. So the first winner, it's spinning.
It's a legit spinner. This is awesome.
Yes. First up is Clifford.
Yay, Clifford.
Perfect.
I think we'll bring it to you. Oh, she actually has it
Yep.
in the back here.
And then Emily, yep, if you want to bring that up here.
Congratulations, Clifford.
2 more. Fingers crossed, right? Okay. Thomas.
Congratulations, Thomas. Thomas isn't a caregiver, he's a student here. I don't know if you want to switch. What do you think?
I think it's okay. All right. And the last prize, the art kit. Let's see. Kim. So for anyone staying for the afternoon session, we will be raffling off 2 more of the caregiver kits and another one of the arts kits.
So we have a little bit of time now. There is lunch being served. It's bagged lunch. You're welcome to take it with you if you can't stay with us for the afternoon session. But there are tables upstairs. There is also an elevator to access the lobby upstairs for you to sit at if you'd like to sit and talk with other caregivers and care providers. And then we also have beautiful work on display. We're kind of in transition in our main gallery on the first floor, but in our lower gallery, which is accessible through an elevator, we do have all kinds of work on display to give you a small taste of our 20,000 objects in our collection that we have here at Lehigh University Art Galleries. Myself, my colleague Elise will be floating around if you have questions or need anything, but we're just so happy you're here with us, and then our next session will start at 1 o'clock today. So thank you again for being here.